Contractors Secret Weapon weekly podcast with your hosts, Dave Negri. This program is dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, roof cleaners, and business owners in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over the competition. This program supplies you with information that the competition doesn't even know exists. This session brought to you by ContractorsSecretWeapon.com.
Hey, Dave Negri here, your host of Contractors Secret Weapon Podcast, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. I've got some new and exciting things coming up in the very near future, and I'm sure that maybe you can relate to what's going on in my brain and going on around here. As you know, you get a big project, you know it's coming up, and it keeps you up all night. Maybe you even get that pit in your stomach when you think about it, and you know you think about it way too often. Sure, you have the confidence to make it happen. So with that said, we have some really big changes coming up in the next few weeks. And I'll reveal little by little, but until that all happens, and it's going to happen on or before the big episode number 200. And if you're on my email list, you'll get first dibs on all the neat stuff that's going to be happening around here. Some really big changes. So if you're not on my email list, then you need to go to the website and download the 15 Secret Weapon Strategies to get high-end clients at www.contractorssecretweapon.com. And that'll be the gift I give you for getting your email list. Just another bribe. So on with the show.
Today I have a really awesome special guest for today. His name is Brian McNeill, and he is an awesome salesperson and a sales trainer. Brian is from Charlotte, North Carolina. He's an Amazon best-selling author of The Shortcut, the fastest route to selling your services better than you ever have before so that you can earn more money than you ever before, and it has done it again. So he has a new book, Asking for the Money. It clearly gives the reader the power to overcome the objections, the power to isolate the close, the power to close more sales. So I'm excited to have Brian with us today, and he's just, I've talked with him a little bit before, and he is just a ball of energy. Before we get into the conversation with you, I just want to do a shout out to our sponsors who help promote Contractor Secret Weapon and just some of the things that they have in store for you, our listeners. Hey, is your phone ringing enough? Do you want it to ring more with highly motivated and qualified buyers that contact you, the contractor, directly? No more waiting for the phone to ring. Just answer that phone. Best Home Services leads are dedicated to making your phone ring with motivated buyers that call you directly. There's no obligation to talk with them. Just go to contractorssecretweapon.com/money. Fill out the form to secure your discount on the setup fee. Do it today. This special will not last forever. Check them out at contractorssecretweapon.com/money.
Running a small business is no easy task, and I should know because I had a service company for almost 10 years. I am the founder of a software called Radius Bomb, and it's unbelievable. And for all the listeners of Contractor Secret Weapon, we have a special offer for you to check out. If you want to send hyper-targeted, laser-focused, super personalized postcards to your exact prospects using a map while sitting in your underwear, then go to contractorssecretweapon.com/Radius Bomb, and we'll give you your first 100 postcards for free. Just go to contractorssecretweapon.com/Radius Bomb.
Okay, Brian. Hey, thanks so much for being with us today. I just got one question to get you started off with, and I'll probably ask some more as we go. But how did you get started in this crazy business, the sales business?
Well, Dave, first off, I'm super honored to be on your show, man. And I tell you, I've been looking forward to this show because I love contractors. But how did I get started in this crazy business like a lot of people did? I found myself in a position where I needed to earn significantly more money than what I was earning. I got the news that we were pregnant, so I needed to make some money. And that's what I did. I took a job in sales, and at first, I was horrible at it. For the first 8 months, I was the worst on the board. But I discovered a book. The first book I discovered was Tom Hopkins' How to Master the Art of Selling. And as I turned those pages, I started to get better at it. And then I went from Tom Hopkins' book to Zig Ziglar's Secrets of Closing the Sale. And this is back in the 90s. Yeah. And that book started give me some confidence. And then I discovered a real gem in The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino.
Oh, man, all my favorite authors.
Yes, actually, in my show, I do a daily show. We're going through the book now, The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. We're on scroll number 6 now.
Awesome.
Yep. So as I finished those books there, I just got another and another and another, and I never let it stop. I just kept going, reading one book after the other, and some of them were dreadful, and some of them had one or two things, and some of them were excellent. But as I turned pages and practiced, I got better and better at it until I started setting sales records and becoming somewhat legendary at the game. And then the natural progression is teach others how you do it, Brian. And that's how I got involved in this game.
Cool. I know those are some of my favorite authors, and I think I read a bunch of times. I had his cassettes, like we talked before. Og Mandino, I don't know how I found him. Probably I was because I had Success Unlimited in the early years, and they were the best and actually the easiest books that I've ever read.
Now, I'm guessing because you said that.
You know how old
we're
I
probably
am?
about the same age.
Yeah, I'm 60, it'd be 63, I think.
Well, I'll be 50 this year.
Oh, well,
But you sound younger than me.
Okay. I'll take that as a big compliment. You sold me. You sold me. So as you progressed, you went like you said before, you were in the contracting stage, home improvement stuff. So how did you get started on the next step of basically becoming a sales trainer and a sales coach like you are today?
I got blessed. The company I was with in the beginning was a home improvement company that had 17 offices throughout North Carolina and Virginia. And I became like a corporate sales trainer for them. And I would just go from office to office to office every week, teaching them closing. Back in the 90s, I thought the key to being a great salesperson was being a great closer. I don't think that's the key today, but back then that's what I thought. Right. So I was just teaching how to close sales. And the bug gets you. Man, I'm doing all of this for that company. What if I set out my own shingle? What if I did it under my own umbrella? And the bug got to be overwhelming because I started hearing more and more and more, man, this is the best sales training I ever had. Man, you're way better than that national sales trainer. You're better than that sales trainer. And I gave it a shot. Cool. I started out with a company called Rhino Sales and Seminars. That was my first sales training company. And it did great. And then less and less and less great until it wasn't great at all. And then it took me, 3 or 4 tries to get it right where I could stay in the business and stay profitable and to stay wonderfully profitable.
Well, that's awesome because that's a big lesson there. Nothing ever happens on the first try.
Yeah, it didn't for me, I tell you.
Yeah, well, it's just like you didn't make your first sale on the first try either.
Heck no, man. Yeah. But back then we operated on a one-call close. Back then when we got one shot at the client, so it was incumbent upon, and it was straight commission sales. So I felt like I had a wife and I had a baby coming, and then I had another baby coming. I felt like if I crossed the threshold into their home, I was going to earn their business. I went from that guy on the front porch to their guest, and they was going to have a heck of a time not buying from me right then. Right. I don't think you can sell that way today, but back then we were able to get away with it, and I would call it practicing. If they tried to commit the crime of not buying what I sold, I would just practice on them, all the closes that I knew. I felt that was fair since I drove out to their home. Right.
Yeah, hey, and you were the invited guest, and they had to throw you out, right? Basically.
Or bye, yes.
I'm sure you remember the old Zig Ziglar story when he first started out selling cookware.
Yes, yeah.
And he goes, the first time he goes into, he said, this old dilapidated house, and there's like 7 or 8 kids, and he pulls out his...
I remember this story.
Yeah, he pulls out his pots and pans, and he goes... And he gets halfway through, and he goes, there's no way that these people are going to buy. And he packs up his stuff, and he walks out the door. And the man chases him out the door and says, where are you going with my cookware? Mm-hmm. So, you cannot underestimate anybody to buy your products.
Well, in that story, your integrity's at stake. If it's so good, you kind of owe it to them to do all you can to motivate them to do it now.
Right.
If you don't do all you can to motivate them to do it now, it's almost as if you're saying what you have is just not that good.
Right. You don't believe in yourself or your product.
Yep. I call it the sin of the desert. The sin of the desert is when you know where the water is, but you won't help people. You won't tell anybody else about it.
Wow, that's pretty profound. Yeah.
Huh?
That's pretty profound.
Yep. But if you believe that you have the water, and if you believe that they're thirsty, like if you don't motivate them to buy it while you're there, what happens to me is so big, Dave. It's like if I see they have a need and I see that I have the solution for them and I don't motivate them to do it, it's like I did nothing but make fun of their bad situation and I'm taking the solution away from them. And that's not fair. That's being selfish. That's how I put it on it. Now, I have the solution, they have the problem, and I have to help them to marry the solution to the problem. I also recognize that adults over age 30 have made so many bad decisions that they cannot make any decisions sometimes. So they need someone strong to motivate them to do what they want to do in the first place. And that's where I come in.
Right. And I'm sure that, that you're helping them make that decision through your sales process so that they're the ones that are basically making the buying decision and you're not really selling them.
Well, I look at the word sell the way it was originated.
Okay.
Originally, the word, there's two originations. One of them is Greek and one of them is Old English. But the Greek comes from two words, sell and ye, which literally mean to help. Your job is to help them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And the Old English comes from a word called selan, which means willing to give up. Willing to give it up. So the way I look at selling them, I am selling, but I'm doing it the way it was originated. I am helping them to get the products and services that they want to have and that they need to have, but they need me to be able to effectively help them to say yes. So I don't have a qualm with saying the word sell. I mean, I motivate them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're helping them make that decision that you know that it's going to be in their best interest.
I do, and I won't offer anything that I don't believe is in their best interest. Here's another funny thing I learned when I was an over-the-road home improvement contractor salesperson is I discovered, and you might have this discovery too, but the ones that I had to do, I had to go through closing efforts and help them. The ones, even when if it got even contentious, those are the ones that liked me more and sent me more referrals because they were relieved that they said yes. I did not leave them on dead center. I didn't leave them in a position where they want to do it but not sure to do it, and they just in that frustrating position. I would do what it took to motivate them to do it. It's like the Aesop fable of Burdens donkey. You've heard the fable before?
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, it's a story about this donkey that starves to death while standing in between two huge stacks of hay because he can't make up his mind which one is better to eat from. And I think when you go to a client's home or when you offer your services and they see how it can help them, but you don't motivate them to get started, you put them in the same position as Burden's ass. They have a need, they don't want it, but you won't lead them one way or the other, and they just stuck. And what happens is they starve to death. So when you don't go through closing efforts, I think the clients like you less because your integrity is at stake. So you must go through them.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they're in reality, when you get there, you've been invited. You're there. Yep. They're asking you for the information so that they can make an intelligent buying decision, or you wouldn't be there at all. So why not go through the whole thing from the beginning to the end and ask for the sale?
I think you owe it to them. And if you know of a solution, you owe them your very best to motivate them to do it. You owe it. Yep.
So what do you think stops a lot of guys and girls?
It's two things. Now the knee jerk is a fear. Well, here's what it is. If I told someone, hey, I want to introduce you to someone and he's a salesman type. Now, for a lot of people, they have a negative connotation with just that little bit of intro or salesman type. Because salespeople have a negative image, and salespeople earned that image, that reputation over time. when salespeople had the advantage over the customer, because the salesperson knew the rates, they knew the prices, they knew all this stuff, and the customer didn't. So when the salesperson had the advantage, they could be underhanded. They could be shysty when they had the advantage in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s even. But today, the salesperson does not have the advantage at all. Very, very often, the customer knows as much, if not more, than the salesperson. Right. The customer knows the real rates. You can't fool anybody. But in the attempt for people not to come across as salesy, they've gotten so wimpy. They've gotten so wimpy now, so they don't even ask for business at all because they don't want to come across as salespeople. So what happens by not asking for business, they get a whole lot less of it, or they just have to give it away, like lower the price to ridiculous levels and give it away. It's a byproduct of not wanting to come across that. So what's going on today? Go ahead.
Yeah, it sounds like being politically correct.
Yeah, they're trying to be politically correct. And I don't want to say this, but a lot of people think they're afraid to close. And I don't think that's the right word. I think it's trained or not trained. Because if you know how to do it like a professional, then that fear won't be there anymore. So this is why I think sales training and sales coaching have kind of gone through a renaissance or a rejuvenation, because I don't even let my clients say, well, I don't want them to feel this way and I don't want them to think I'm a salesman. What the heck are you there for? You're not a professional visitor. No.
I love that. A professional visitor. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Okay, we're hiring professional visitors now. We're not hiring salespeople.
Right. And they got to respect, and that's all. Sales is a profession.
It is.
It's a profession. That means you have to learn something. You have to be educated to do it. It's the world's oldest profession. I know some people think it's something else, but that's a subsection of sales.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, because it's being sold.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree completely. So, hey, let's get over, because I know we had a little bit of conversation about living by price and dying by price.
Yes.
A bit earlier, and when you're in a sales situation, tell me about your feelings about the whole price situation.
I think it's fair for you to tell your clients that you're going to give them a good rate and a good term. I think you should tell them that up front. And then once you figure out what it is and what your rates are, that's what it is. And say, man, that sounds high. I would typically say, I told you I would give you a great rate. I told you I would give you the best rate I can. And just that's it. Now, if it comes to any negotiating, I'm negotiating on services or products, but not rates. My rates are what they are. If they want to take off some of the stuff, that's what it is. We'll take off some stuff and that'll lower the rate. But what I charge them is what it is. And the longer you can stay on your price, the longer you can stay on your rate, the more credible. And it's like you bringing them up instead of you bringing yourself down.
Right. I agree.
There's so many problems when you bring it down, because when you lower your rates, the clients never really know if they got a good deal. When you don't lower your rates, they feel confident in the deal that they spent and the money that they spent. Let me tell you can I tell you a quick story?
Sure, absolutely.
When I was a salesperson on a sales force, we had like 15 salespeople. And one day I was in the conference, we had a sales meeting, and everybody was like, the other salespeople, they were having a conversation and they were really into it about everybody wants you to lower the prices. And I had to discount it $1,000 or $2,000. And I had to do this. And I'm listening to these conversations. And Dave, I really couldn't remember the last time that it even came up with me. It just never came up. And this was a problem that they're always having. But with me, I have to assume it's the same customers. They all read from the same cue cards and scripts. But I can't remember the last time that it even came up about lowering my rates. It just wasn't an option. I didn't position myself to lower my rates. It just wasn't the case. And it made me assume that the way they were selling, and I believe I'm right, for them to always have to lower the price, they have to take part of that blame. The way they were positioning themselves was setting it up so that the customer would ask for a discount.
Absolutely, because they're going, well, they're like... If they're already going in and they know they're the highest priced guy in town, then deal with it. But don't deal with it from, that I have to give a discount, because Yeah, I'm of the firm believer that the only people I give discounts to are my reoccurring customers, and they are rewards for doing business with me. But to get
They've earned it.
right. But to get a discount, get a customer from a discount, that's the only thing they're looking for, and that's just. I don't play those games. I had one guy once, old guy, and he was kind of funny. We were sitting in. I was sitting in a shop waiting for some equipment to get repaired, and you know how everyone tells their horror stories and their fun stories. And this old man, he says, you know, I had a customer the other day. I gave her a price to pressure wash, do a bunch of pressure cleaning and a bunch of other stuff, and she goes, "Well, can you lower your price?" And he looks at her and he goes, "Ma'am, you know, I've given you what I believe is a fair price for me to make a fair profit and to give you a good service and a good product." He goes, "Where would you like me to steal from you?"
That's funny. But I want to say one other thing, too. One of the challenges you and I are having right here is you're causing me to say a bad word. And I know it's a bad word in sales. What? But you and I have said it a bunch of times. And I've said it, too. But I do a workshop called Good Selling Words and Bad Selling Words. Okay. And one of the bad selling words is the word price. And I tell them, sweaters have a price, and we shouldn't say the word price in the presence of our clients. Never. I replace the word prices. I offer this for, available for, valued at. There's a lot of different ways we could say it, because this is not a sweater. I'm offering this to you for da-da-da-da-da, or I'm making myself available for da-da-da-da-da.
Right. Yeah, I don't, and you're right, because I don't think I ever use, when I write proposals, so I don't think I ever tell them the price, that this is what it's going to be for you to take care of all the stuff that you want to take care of, because the price goes into a different animal altogether, because now they think, oh, I've got a price. You know, it's like, okay, like you said, a sweater has a price, food has a price.
Right. But my services,
my services are value.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in Dan Kennedy's mantra is price has elasticity, and try to stretch it as much as you can.
Yeah, I like Dan Kennedy as well.
Yeah.
Dan Kennedy's another guy that took me from low on the totem pole of sales into always being one of the top guys. You know, his concept of, now this how far back I go with Dan Kennedy. Now I know he's still in the game, but he's an old school too. He used to build his business through letters to clients, and he'd say, like, the second letter he'd announce, "This is my second time reaching out to you."
Yeah.
And then he'd say, "This is my third letter to you."
Yeah.
That's how far back I go with Dan Kennedy.
And a lot of that stuff still works.
Yeah. So, you know, it's so cool talking with someone that's a seasoned salesperson like you, Dave, because, you know, one thing that you have and that I have that most of the salespeople today do not have is history. A long time in the game, you know, and plus people that still study. We know what's going on today, but we can call upon history, and a lot of them cannot. They just can't call on it.
One of the interesting things you just said, and that I sort of live by now, is the game. Because it is a game, and you have to play it as a game, because you've got to have fun with it on all ends. Once it becomes all-consuming, all-controlling, then it becomes your master, and it's not.
That's right. And I do think of it as the game. You know, one of my mantras, it's so funny you mentioned that. I said it to one audience either yesterday or a day before, was one of the mantras I used to say to myself when I was going through the process of closing the sales and the client was trying to be difficult, or if the client is wanting to throw up craziness. Well, if you'll do this, or I'm going to do that, and nonsense like that, I used to say over and over to myself, if we're going to play games, then we're going to play mine.
Yep, I agree.
And it gave me energy to stay in the game.
Yeah, because listen, he who loses control loses.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many ways to stay in control and have fun at the same time.
The one who's asking the questions is leading.
Yes.
The one answering is following. Right. So I made sure I was asking more and making sure they have to talk to me. Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing a sales training, and how do you get your people moved away from price?
Well, you go back. It's hurt and rescue. If they want to stay on price, that means either one of two things: either they don't want it bad enough, or they're not hurting enough yet. Now, one of the selling ideologies or selling thought processes that I teach is what's called hurt and rescue selling. Now, hurt and rescue selling, you never cause pain. You uncover pain that's already there. Yes, and they knew the pain was there before you got there.
Yeah.
They knew it before you got there. They knew their deck was rickety. They knew they wanted a sunroof. They knew their roof was leaky. They knew they thought their trim was ugly. They knew their windows were drafty before you got there. So your job is to uncover the pain. It's a 4-step process. 1 is you uncover the pain. 2 is you talk about that pain briefly. 3 is you talk about how expensive it is to stay in that pain.
Right.
If you don't do this, and sometimes it's expensive in more than one way, not just expensive in money and bills, but also expensive in aggravation, and time wasters.
Yeah.
Talk about how expensive it is to stay in the pain. And number 4 is you rescue them with your services. So you uncover the pain, talk about how expensive it is. If you let me help you, you can be rescued.
Cool. That is so awesome.
Yep. So I could talk sales all day, especially with someone who also seems to love talking sales.
I love sales. I love business. I love the whole thing about it because it's just it's invigorating because it's like you said, it has become a game and it's the fun part of doing it but like you said, in order to get good at what you do, you have to practice and it has to be part of who you are. You just can't go up and say, I'm going to just go do this today. Well, what are you going to say? How are you going to say it? And I think that's one of the, a lot of people say they're shy, around people. And the only reason I think that most people, I know there's a lot of people that are definitely shy to a certain point, but I think most people don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah, they're just not trained.
They haven't trained themselves. It's like, I really dislike going to networking meetings. It's just not one of my things. Because ultimately, I'm an introvert, like you would know, but you wouldn't know. But I would rather not go. So I do everything I can do. I mean, I've got the list of 5 questions that I've asked all the time, and I'll always go in with my badge upside down.
Okay.
Because people will chase you to let you know that your badge is upside down. And I'll go, see, it worked. And they'll go, what worked? I got you to talk first. Then we can start up a conversation.
Well, I think in networking functions, there's only really one question that you need. I call it the golden question for networking events. And I'll share it with you now once pleasantries are done. But the question is, hey, Dave, if I'm talking to someone, how do I know the person I'm talking to is a great referral for you?
Right.
And what happens is they'll answer the question, but then the law of reciprocation will kick in. Mm-hmm. Well, what about you? How do I know if it's a good person for you? And that gives me an opportunity to tell my story. Yep. And that's what I do. But the only way you get to tell your story is by you first becoming interested in them and their story. So it's back to your thing. It's just a question of being trained or not trained. It's not afraid to or not. That's not what it is at all, in my opinion. Folks are not shy. They just don't know what to do.
Right. They don't know what to say. They haven't got it down.
Here's the other thing, too, that you kind of reminded me of. To what I think is another challenge with today. The romance of letting social media do it for you, or the romance of your website and your online presence building your business for you. A lot of people are moving to that, and what happens is they're getting good at identifying potential clients, they're getting good at securing leads, but not getting good at what to say when you have to actually talk to someone. And what's happening is it's a very expensive thing. They're blowing leads just because they don't know what to say.
Right, and the guys, and honestly, I know a bunch of guys that do a lot of stuff on Facebook and get leads and stuff, but you know where they really make their money?
When they go.
When they go, or they have that telephone conversation with the person, with that they got the lead from.
Yep.
So they still have that human interaction. That human interaction is what's really making them the money. They're just using the Facebook as a way of collecting the lead, just like we may do it with like a 3-step letter or something like that. It's just a different form of marketing, but the real money is being made in the interaction, the live interaction between two people.
It's not even close. You're right. It's not even close. You take someone that's outstanding at social media marketing. I mean, they're really, really good at it. They understand it and they know what to do. They know when to do it. Say to someone that's really, really good at it. And someone else is really, really good at getting belly to belly with people. And they get belly to belly with 3 or 4 people a day and just tell their story about what they do. Who earns more money? It's not even close.
Oh, yeah,
the one that actually gets in front of them that touches, is going to earn 10 times the money. It's not even close.
Yeah. This has really been awesome. It's been lots of fun. Listen, we're really getting close to running out of time. If you were what would be one of the something that you've probably thought about you wanted to say today but didn't get a chance, what would that one thing be?
I think everyone can become a champion salesperson if they decide to become a champion and will study their craft. I think people should never allow themselves to think that they're out of training. I think if you stay green and growing instead of ripe and rotting and continuously seek to get better, you will get better because we find all of the things that we go looking for.
That's awesome. So, Brian, how can our listeners get in touch with you? What's the best way? Your telephone number or your web page, so that we can get a hold of you? And I'll put it on the show notes when we're done. But
sure, I'm very easy to find and very easy to reach out to and touch. And I even offer a gift to anyone who wants it. But my name is Brian K. McNeill. Now, if you look me up, go to Brian K. McNeill or Brian Keith McNeill. There's another Brian McNeill that's a bluesgrass singer or something, and his stuff comes up sometime when you search me. But if you go Brian K. McNeill, you'll find a lot of stuff about me. But you can either call me directly. I'm old school enough that I still actually accept the phone call. My phone number is 919-345-4893. That's 919-345-4893. I do have a website too, and you can also find me there. My website is Very Personal Sales with an S Coaching.com. verypersonalsalescoaching.com. You can email me at Brian, Brian, at verypersonalsalescoaching.com. I'm very active on Facebook. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. On Facebook, Brian Keith McNeill, facebook.com, Brian Keith McNeill. On LinkedIn, I am the most fun speaker. LinkedIn.com. Yes, I heard that enough times that I decided to make it my tag. So you can either find me on LinkedIn under my name, Brian Keith McNeill, or under the tag, the most fun speaker. On Twitter is Brian K. McNeill, BrianKMcNeill, Brian K. McNeill. I will send it to you, Dave. Anyone who reaches out to me, I offer them a free selling yourself and selling your services consultation. That consultation is free. It'll last up to 30 minutes, but it's done in such a way that even if you never talk to me again, within that first consultation, you will learn something that will help you to sell better than you do right now for the rest of your life.
Cool. I will put all that stuff on our website and put the links there too, so that'll be awesome. Awesome. This has been so much fun. I mean, I just love talking about sales, and you are so energetic. That's pretty cool. So I am really thankful that we got a chance to talk today.
Yes, I'm super excited too. I was looking forward to this show. The Contractor's Secret Weapon. Woohoo!
Hey, Dave Negri here, your host of Contractors Secret Weapon Podcast, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. I've got some new and exciting things coming up in the very near future, and I'm sure that maybe you can relate to what's going on in my brain and going on around here. You get a big project, you know it's coming up, and it keeps you up all night. Maybe you even get that pit in your stomach when you think about it, and you know you think about it way too often. Sure, you have the confidence to make it happen. So with that said, we have some really big changes coming up in the next few weeks, and I'll reveal little by little, but until that all happens, and it's going to happen on or before the big episode number 200. And if you're on my email list, you'll get first dibs on all the neat stuff that's going to be happening around here. Some really big changes. So if you're not on my email list, then you need to go to the website and download the 15 Secret Weapon Strategies to get the high-end clients at www.contractorssecretweapon.com. And that'll be the gift I give you for getting your email list. Just another bribe. So on with the show.
Welcome to another edition of the Contractors Secret Weapon weekly podcast with your hosts, Dave Negri. This program is dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, roof cleaners, and business owners in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over the competition. This program supplies you with information that the competition doesn't even know exists. This session brought to you by ContractorsSecretWeapon.com.